All right, now we're going to do some more about grid mode. We've got our movie going here a little bit, and I can also lower tracks down. Let's see it here. Got a glass screen Okay, we got everything in this little movie going on. Uh, but you'll notice here everything's set by frame rate. It's all set to seconds. Look back in the background, that's the first second, the first second, second. These are just seconds. I don't have to work in seconds. We're going to go to something a little more fine. We're going to go here, and we're going to work maybe in 100 milliseconds. Now see the grid change. See this right here now? It's really fine-tuned. This is ridiculously fine-tuned. Let's go to here, and you'll see it. See that? And each one of these is 100 milliseconds. Look at that. That's from there. It's 100 milliseconds. So I can also uh, go to 10 milliseconds, and here's the grids change even more. See that? Wow. That's a really fine grid. Now, the reason why I want to do this, we may want to move in smaller increments. It's important to do. Let's say, for example, I wanted to move this car further. Instead of being in spot mode, I just want to have a grabber at this point. Just click the grabber right there. See that? You can click the grabber. You get the grabber tool by itself. Moving a time displacement here. I can move it there. I'm moving it real slow. My car could start right there. See that? That's pretty cool. Now, I can also, let's say I want to get that bus I had. Here's a bus. I bring my bus into the track right here. And we're not using spot mode now no longer. We're here in the grid mode, and I can move it to the grid. And you'll see here in the settings, it shows you where I'm moving here. As I move it along, the cursor, it tells me where the cursor's at and where the cursor's at. Every time I move a little bit, it's moving in increments. It's moving in increments which are 10 milliseconds. That's my grid value. This is my nudge value as well. So select the file. I can move it back and forth in terms of milliseconds, 10 milliseconds or so, and move it up or down. Now, this is important to do this so that you know how to use grid mode. It'll snap to that grid. Say if I had a music and I had music in the background, I want to put these beats in. I can also go in terms of BPMs and make sure the beats fit someone who's rapping a song or a singer. I want to make sure that the track fits along with what she's doing. So when I actually make the video, it comes out perfect. So here we're going to be in minutes and seconds, and I can go here and say, for example, and since let's get rid of the region list. In this, I'll go back to the 3 tool option. I can bring this down somewhat. I have a bus coming in right here. And the bus comes in, she's catching the bus. But this is all about using the grid mode, of making it snap to that particular point in the grid. Now before we did spot mode, we had to know specifically where you want to have the region to come up in the grid or in that spot, but it would be set to that spot you wanted to have it at. Here in grid, we can move it along the grid, but it snaps to the grid. For example, again, I'll move back here and go to 500 milliseconds, approximately half a second. You'll see me move it up. I'll grab the region, move it up here. See, it snaps only to where the next point is at. No matter where I go to, it'll only snap to the grid. Now, let me fine tune this a little bit more, and you'll see even better as we expand the view. I move it up, it only snaps to the 500 millisecond grid definition. So this grid is 500 milliseconds. And whatever I bring into the grid will snap to that 500 milliseconds. Now, when using relative, relative is great for using music. That means you have a quarter note, and it's only set for a quarter note. It'll snap to that quarter note only. And in terms of what that means, that if I move this region up, it's only set to quarter notes, it has to make sure that's relative to that quarter note in the grid. It's great for making your beats fall in line when you want to make a relative evaluation of where you want to put this particular drum, kick, or snare, or maybe even a vocal. You want to make it relative to everything else in the track itself. And we'll show that more later on when we use relative with more music. But this is how we use grid. It's left the grid, and we can nudge it along in that grid, setting our nudge value as well. And here we can go to seconds. So remember, it's a grid. You move the region within the grid, and it snaps to the nearest location that you move the region to in that grid.